Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. We're live in Vegas, Circa Resort Casino. Mitch Moss along with Mike Somich. Paulie's out for the day. And Follow the Money is brought to you by ProfitX. Right now, you can compete to become the King of March and win free trips up to $10,000. Download the ProfitX app and use the code VSiNMM. As I stated, first hour of the show, my favorite way to bet baseball has turned into the most wins in a given month. That market, and it's available typically at 3 different books, as that's all I'm aware of anyway. DraftKings, Caesars, and Circa will put them up. I'll explain more on that coming up here in a minute, but we go out to the progressive guest line now because a guy who is dynamite at breaking this stuff down, a guy that I talk to every month before we actually make bets in this market, now going back a good couple of years, is Chris Bellm, sports bettor who lives in the Midwest, and he joins the program now. Chris, thanks for the time today. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, doing well, Mitch. Appreciate you having me on. Happy to talk about this.
This has been successful over the years, but I want to begin with this. And you tweeted out the numbers as well that you put together. I just quote tweeted it as well. You're on X at Bellm Chris, Bellm Chris. Where does your monthly handicap or projections really start with this market, Chris?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, this is something that's really taken off the last couple of years. You and I have really talked about it, especially last year. It's just a fun way to bet baseball futures, and you're not tying up your money for a full season necessarily. And it started about a year and a half ago, talking with a buddy. We were looking at this market. We wanted to bet this on a regular basis and find a way that we could project the expected win totals for each team each month and try to find value, right? So we simplified some things. We developed, there was 3 different criteria. So let's look at every team's expected win percentage. So we use win totals that are for the regular season. So look at Circa. Okay, you have a expected win total for the regular season. You take that win percentage for that team, you plug that in. That's data set number 1. You basically use those win totals as well for the opponents that they are playing any given month. So you kind of have a blended average for opponents' win percentage for the full month for your second data set. And then for the third, it's just total games played. That's obviously going to have a factor into how many games you can win in any given month. So you take those 3 together, and that's going to generate the total projected wins for every team that way. And then you can really just start value hunting, basically, going down the board and seeing who might pop.
Now, with this first month, we obviously have a little less information than when we get further along into the season. Are you basically coming up with the win percentages based off of the win totals that are set by the books? Are you using last season's win percentage, a mixture of both, your own secret flavor? How are you getting to these win numbers for each of these teams?
Trying to keep it as simple as possible out of the gate, right? There's a lot of unknowns, a lot of variables, especially early on. So just using the books, win totals, plugging that in, and that's going to kind of apply the formula. Now, as we get 1 month under our belt, 2, 3, 4, it's going to change a little bit. We're going to use actual records and weigh out a little bit. Even after the first month, I'm still going to use part of the preseason, going into the season projected win totals, but then start weighing in the actual records for when you're using that team itself and the opponent's averages. Yep.
Okay, so this is going to be typically what you're going to see when you put this stuff out, right? The team projected to win the most games will be the Los Angeles Dodgers. Probably every single month when you put the numbers together, they're going to be the team at the top. You project them for a little bit more than 20 wins in March and April. However, they are 3-1 at both DraftKings and Caesars. Circa is not posted yet. They're going to do that later on, and it's going to be for April only. I would say that if you have blindly bet the Dodgers over the last 3 years to win this market, you are down probably quite a few units. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And it's the baseball version of Scotty Scheffler. I feel like this is, you got to know what you're getting into. Yeah. You probably feel comfortable with the Dodgers winning most games, but I like to basically get into the double digit odds teams when looking at this market. it's interesting. The volatility in this market is crazy. Last year there were 6 months, obviously, that this market was open. 9 different teams either won it outright or tied. 9 different teams. There were no repeat winners last year. That I thought was, pretty interesting. And I think you and I even joked at the start of last year, like we might need a without Dodgers market for this to even like consider betting this because they were going to win 115, 120 games, right? Just did not happen. They dead heated the very first month with the Mets, and they did not win another month the rest of the way.
Now, you mentioned there's this available at limited number of books. So Caesars, DraftKings, and Circa, and you mentioned dead heat a couple times there. What is the rules differences that we see from each of these books, and how does that affect where you want to be able to bet some of these teams?
Yeah, super important to know the house rules. So Circa does have a tiebreaker. It is least losses, so least games played. If there is a dead heat or if there is a tie, and then run differential if that first tiebreaker did not settle it. The other books, they do have the dead heat rules where you're splitting that. So if you have a similar number at Circa and DraftKings or Caesars, you just need to understand how many games that team's playing. Would you win the tiebreaker in most cases at Circa? Then you probably want to bet there. If not, you might want to look otherwise. Yeah.
So here's the example, right? And you have this in your chart as well. I go down the projected wins, and you have Milwaukee middle of the pack at like 16.11 this year. But if you like Milwaukee to have the most wins by the end of April, they only play 30 games, right? A bunch of other teams play 31 or 32. And the Padres also play only 30 games. If you're going to bet either one of those teams and you have access to Circa, I think you have to bet them at Circa because that's, again, the tiebreaker is going to come into play and least amount of games played is going to be the edge. So you really want to have more games to win this thing, but not when that's the tiebreaker, especially if you like them a lot.
100%. And vice versa. You might want to bet at a different book if they have more games played than the other, because you're least likely to win that tiebreaker at Circa potentially. So you just got to know, and it's going to be number dependent too, right? So, you might be paying a price to get, 30 to 1 compared to 40 to 1 on a certain team. And you just got to kind of play that out based on the house rules.
Now, I am not someone who has played this market before.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
Yeah. So I like to kind of, like I said, value hunt once we have all these numbers. It's an original reference point, right? So a lot of times what you have in these projections is Dodgers always number one, and then a huge lump of teams that are all within about 1 to 2 wins of each other. And whenever you shop around and look at these, odds for all of these books, you might see these teams that are within the same group that are 15 to 1, 20 to 1, and then all of a sudden one's right in the middle at 40 to 1. And it's not necessarily an auto bet, but it's something you want to take a closer look at to see, okay, what does their schedule look like? Are there any injuries that I need to be aware of? Home away splits potentially, and just kind of, take a deeper dive.
That was perfect, because I was going to ask you about some of the odd splits that we're going to see here. I'm not someone who played this much last year, and what jumps out to me immediately are looking at the Mets and the Braves, who are currently 3rd and 4th for this specific month. And you've got them, at one book we're looking at 5 to 1 on the Mets. They're 11 to 1 at DraftKings. If you talk about the Braves, they're plus 650 at DraftKings, but 14 to 1 at Caesars. Is it common to see that big of a gap between books? Is that mainly? I'm assuming it's because they've taken that specific book took money on the team, so they adjusted the pricing. But do you see that large a gaps even further into the season?
There definitely can be, especially the openers. It's important to kind of look at that. I feel like by the time this market's closed each month, they're a little closer to each other. But these openers can be pretty far off. I will make a note though. At DraftKings, I believe they posted it for April only, so that could play a role in why these numbers are a little bit different than Caesars, where Caesars is offering March plus April.
Okay, very good. Chris Bellm, our guest. Most wins in a given month. Beginning again, pay attention because March and April can be a little bit dicey with the rules there. So, having said all of that, who have you landed on so far to actually win this bet?
Yeah. So made a short list because there's a lot of teams that I was really looking at here, but it's the Baltimore Orioles at 40-1 at Caesars. They're still at 35-1. That's moved a little bit, but I like that. A lot of teams that are projected right around their same win total is kind of what I said earlier, where you've got 15, 20-1 that are very similar to the Orioles projected win total. I like the top of that lineup quite a bit with the addition of Alonso, the rotation. No ace that really pops out to me necessarily, but I think they've got a good starting five that to give them a chance to win every night. They've got 18 of those 31 games at home. 3 of those 13 road games are against the White Sox. So I kind of take my chances with that number on the Orioles.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Orioles 16-1 on DraftKings, 35 as you mentioned on Caesars. So another pretty big gap there. How many teams do you usually bet a month?
Yeah, it's a good question. I try 3 is the max. I don't even want to get there necessarily, but 3 would be the max. Try to get 1 or 2 usually each month that pop out. Yeah,
very good.
And then hopefully you're at least alive toward the end of the month, and you can have some fun with maybe some hedging.
Okay. Are you going to tweet out your projections at the end of every month?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, we'll do this every month throughout the season for sure.
As long as you get your bets in first. Then you can tweet them out, share them with everybody. Make sure you follow Chris on X. He's at Bellm Chris, Bellm Chris. That was awesome, man. Thanks so much for the time today.
All right. Thanks a lot.
He joined us on the Progressive Guest Line. Mike Palm next. He loves betting Major League Baseball. We'll get to tonight's lid lifter and his future bets for the 2026 season coming up next.
Hey, let me get your attention real quick, podcast listeners. It's March, which means the madness is officially upon us, and the folks at VSiN have gone crazy with this one. For $29.99, you get unlimited access to VSiN Pro through May 1st. I'm talking picks throughout the tournament, public betting data for every single game, sharp tools, projections, articles, and more, which means every day you wait is an opportunity missed. Just click the link in the description to get started. It's March, baby. Now back to the show.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
All right, fun spot there with Chris Bellm talking about the most wins Major League Baseball in a given month. Mitch Moss along with Mike Somich in for Paulie Howard today. This is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. It is Wednesdays with the Maestro as Mike Palm, the VP of this great property, joins us now in studio. How are you, pal?
Hello, Mitch. Hello, Mike. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. You guys have not posted the most wins yet. I talked to Chris Bennett last night / today, and he is going to post, I think, later on this week, at least for April. And he told me that he's going to have the most wins for April available.
Yeah, he'll have it available. I think he'll have it available by the weekend. It's been a growing market, as you well know. You love to dabble in it.
Do you?
I'm not that smart. I don't have the kind of time on my hands that you folks do that can really analyze everybody's schedules and the spin rates and the launch angles and the XFIP and the BABIP and all this nonsense. If I had more time, maybe I could. I'm behind on my baseball research too. I don't know. I mean, I should have been ahead of it. Means it's probably going to be the last season for a while, but I'm going to have to learn as we go here.
Okay, so
well, we get it going tonight, Mike. We've got baseball officially first pitch tonight with San Francisco and the New York Yankees here. Do you have anything in this game, or are you just going to enjoy it and watch this one?
I will enjoy watching this one in and out between some hockey action tonight.
Between the two games that are on the schedule.
Yeah, they did a great job. They did a great job stepping aside for stepping. There was a good night last night. I have to tell you, it was an entertaining night of hockey. That Vancouver Anaheim game was a terrific, wide open game if you enjoy offensive hockey. But yes, we're coming down to the last 10, 12 games in the NHL, Mitch. So there's a lot to be decided here. And I know a couple teams that needed wins last night in the East didn't get them. But for the most part, when you talk about playing a tanking theory in the NBA, it's pretty much held true this season in the NHL. So just look out for the teams that need to win versus the teams who need to get draft position.
Can I get you to dive into some prop markets this year? For example, like tonight, would you look at Logan Webb with the strikeouts? You look at him with the outs prop tonight, Mike.
How about total pitches? Do they offer that? Is that it? Can you get that? I would go for outs for Logan Webb.
Okay.
I have to tell you, we'll bring this up at some later time, Mitch, when we can delve into this. But the top scouts and one top scout and executive from each major league team was asked to rate aces. It's a compilation poll of who are the aces in Major League Baseball. And so my friend challenged me, how many guesses would it take for me to get the top 10 aces? And I said, I can do it in under 14 and a half guesses was my bet, like bid a note on Name That Tune. I didn't make it. It took me 16 guesses.
16 guesses.
Logan Webb was solidly, I believe, number 7 on this list. When you think about an ace, right? You think about a guy that's going to eat up a bunch of innings for your team, too, and go out there and go up against the number 1 starter for the most part. And I think Logan Webb does define that. Now, my friend Amal Shaw, who I co-hosted a show with on this network for 19 months, used to call Logan Webb a 9-high flush. It's a very good hand, but it gets beat by Bettor. So, but he does fit the definition. I said I needed one clue on this list. I said, how many Dodgers are there, 2 or 3? And the answer was 2. And so I guessed Yamamoto and Snell. Snell, no, did not make the top 10. Yamamoto was 4th, and Ohtani was 9th.
Ohtani made it as one of the top 10
I didn't think he would make it because
aces.
of the, is he going to pitch, isn't he, and how many starts and innings is he going to throw? He made it as number 9.
That surprised you, Mike?
Yeah, that's shocking to me.
Yep.
I'm surprised that Ohtani showed up on that list. Was there anyone else that surprised you when you were going through these guesses that was on the top 10?
No, Zach Wheeler was a surprise for me.
Just because
he wasn't in the top 10. And I am not, it's go Scooble Skeens right off the bat, right? So I agree with that. I would have had Christopher Sanchez was 5th. There wasn't any really surprises. So for me, I'm not a Max Fried guy. I would not put Max Fried in my top 10. I think Max Fried came in 6th. So to me, Fried is overrated. But it's an interesting list of what scouts think. And DeGrom was still in the top 10 at number 10. It took me a while to get there as well.
Crochet, number 3?
Crochet ended up 3rd. I would go Yamamoto 3,
okay,
Sanchez 4, Crochet 5 if I was doing that list. That's the only thing I quibble with the top 5. I'd reverse the order a little bit.
All right. Well, you have a great saying on this network. You like to call fake aces.
Yeah.
Would you qualify Ohtani as a fake ace?
I think Ohtani's. I don't know what we've seen yet of Ohtani. I don't know that we have a big enough body of. I want to see Ohtani pitch more. Yeah. To be honest with you, if for what I want to see out of the Dodgers, it's Ohtani pitch more. Now, I was one of the critics, and people called me an Ohtani denier when I said Salvi Perez should have won the MVP in the American. What year was that? 24, 20, whatever. Because I said every start they put Ohtani up on a Tuesday night against the Omaha Storm Chasers. It seemed like he was pitching against the Royals AAA team every night, right? And we've seen in starts he had when he was with the Angels in Yankee Stadium, he was awful under the spotlight in a big city in that. So I think his stuff is outstanding. Obviously, he was great in the World Baseball Classic last time out when he struck out Trout and all that. I would like to see Ohtani pitch more. And he may very well be a top 10 pitcher.
Do you think we'll actually see him pitch more, though? I mean, this is a Dodgers team that doesn't necessarily need to go with a 5-man rotation, doesn't necessarily need to run him out there consistently. Their win total was as high as 104 earlier during the offseason. It's 102.5 right now. There's no one in this division that can really threaten them over a 162-game sample size. What's the actual pressure on this Dodgers organization to have him on the mound?
No, they just want to get to October. That's all they want to do, right? And if I were them, I'd pitch Yamamoto the least amount I could all year. After you used him up as a Japanese pitcher, used to be in a 6-man rotation. You used him up very hard in October last year. I would just try to have Yamamoto. I want all these guys healthy, right? These teams get disinterested, too, as you see along the way. Look at the Colorado Avalanche, Mike, in a sport we love in hockey. These teams get out to such big leads, and they're so good, they get disinterested, and they're just waiting for the playoffs to get here.
Yeah. Ohtani, by the way, in a spring training start, 11 Ks in 4+ innings. That's one good-looking example for him anyway, but can he do that? And are they going to put him out there 6 innings? Like, what's the longest that he's going to last in a game this year?
Depends on maybe if he has a no-hitter going or something like that. Although that doesn't really seem to matter for Davey Roberts. We've seen him pull people with no-hitters going. I mean, they're the combined no-hitter kings. But we'll see. I mean, he still wants to stress what he can do as an athlete too, obviously, and that's what makes him this unicorn, is the fact that he can do both at such a high level.
Yeah, he's mentioned that the most important award for him is a Cy Young, that he wants a Cy Young. It's going to be tough to win one in the NL with Skeens et al., who are all inside that conference there. Yeah. I do want to bring it back to hockey real quick here, Mike, because I know you're just bursting at the seams to talk about it. And I have been loading up on a specific Eastern Conference team, so I want to get your take on this here. I started playing Ottawa at plus 150 to make the playoffs, played them at plus 130, plus 110, played them at 25-1, 22-1, and just rebet them at 17-1 to win the Eastern Conference. They're one of the top teams from a Corsi perspective, one of the top teams from a Fenwick perspective. If you go and you look at their struggles this season, it's been when their starting goalie, Olmark, has been out. Do you have the same love for Ottawa that I kind of developed over this last month and a half or so?
So I've had that love for 2 years, Mike. I've been on this team for 2 years. That this was going to end. This was just the way I am on Anaheim. I thought this was the start of their arc this year, and I bet the Ducks at 3-1 to make the playoffs and 100-1 to win the Cup. I never thought Coach Q would have them on top in the Pacific this late in the year. I've been on this Ottawa team, and we saw them get to the playoffs and give Toronto a hard time in the first round. I love this Ottawa team, and this East, it's wide open, right? It's a wide open East. Everybody's bunched up. They're probably going to set the record for the team with the highest point total to not make the playoffs in the history of the NHL. There's probably going to be a team with 98 would set the record. It's pacing for 99, doesn't make the playoffs this year. So they got to get in. They've been impressive in these big games against Detroit when they're in head-to-head competitions with these teams that they're chasing. And they brought Olmark over to be the number one guy, right? I mean, this was what he was going to be. He was the number one guy with Swayman on that record-setting team with Boston when he got injured. Olmark and didn't know, and Montgomery didn't know, and they got upset by the Panthers in the first round. This is why you brought him over. He got through all whatever the mental/infidelity issues were and moved on here. I think this is a very, very dangerous team. I actually think that Ottawa, Columbus, and Buffalo are the most dangerous teams to come out of the East. I just don't like the prices. Carolina's never built to win in the playoffs, and I think Tampa Bay might be up against it this year. But for price shots, those are the three teams I like in the East.
Very good. Follow the money, brought to you by Profit X. If you're not on Profit X yet, now is the time. Sign up April 6th. Purchase at least $25 and get a free $25 as well. Then jump into their King of March contest. You could win free trips worth up to $5,000 or even $10,000. Just use the code VSINMM. Make your first purchase, then learn about the contest on their homepage and start playing. No entry fee required. Hit $1,000 in volume. You're entered to win the $5,000 trip. Hit $10,000 in volume and you're entered for the $10,000 trip. Win 10 picks, hit the volume, and every additional 10 wins gets you another entry. Download Profit X, use the code VSINMM, make your first purchase, and take your shot at becoming the King of March. More with the maestro, Mike Palm, VP of Circa Las Vegas, coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSIN, the Sports Betting Network. He'll explain why it helps when announcers know the score, and you cannot be serious. Next.
This is Follow the Money on VSIN.
Welcome back. Mitch Moss along with Mike Somich as we continue here Wednesdays with the maestro, Mike Palm, VP of Circa Las Vegas. Time now for You Cannot Be Serious.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
You know, Mitch and Mike, a friend asked me a very pertinent question as we were watching the women's tournament this weekend. He said, what is harder to stomach in the women's college game? Is it the officiating or the announcing? And I told him I really wouldn't want to live on the difference, but I think I've concluded that it's the announcing. And that's a stretch because have you noticed the amount of replays in these women's games? In the Iowa game on Monday against Virginia, in the last 2 minutes of that game and double overtime, they had 4 reviews of 7 minutes or more. Oh. And 3 times called flagrant fouls where not even a foul had been called on the court. I just love the announcement when the lady gets on the microphone and says, upgrading from unobserved to flagrant one. Anyhow, it's not as bad as the announcing. How about the announcing? Let's go to the second round game. Ole Miss and Minnesota, a 5-4 game. In Minnesota, the game is tied at 63. Ole Miss scores the 2-pointer, tie the game at 63. Minnesota calls timeout with 3.5 seconds left. Who's doing the game for ESPN? Krista Blunk is the play-by-play announcer, and Andrea Lloyd is doing... Now, Andrea Lloyd is not a young woman. She graduated from Texas in '87. She won a national championship under Jody Conrad there. I think she played 6 or 7 years professionally and in the WNBA, and she was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Andrea Lloyd thought that Minnesota was still ahead in this game, and Blunk did nothing to dissuade her of that fact. If you go on Twitter, you can find this whole clip of them talking about how Ole Miss must play the greatest defense of their life to steal this pass in the inbounds, and then what the free throw percentage was of each Minnesota player on the court because they must immediately foul. The game was tied, and they went on the whole commercial break thinking that Minnesota was still ahead. Meanwhile, Minnesota inbounded the ball and scored to win 65-63 and move on. And now they draw UCLA. I think that line's 28.5 or 29. But this is the problem when you spread out and you have games at so many different sites. You have to go. Blunk has done games for ESPN and Westwood One for years, but was a Pac-12 announcer. Andrea Lloyd's a Mountain West announcer. But you not need to find all these announcers do all these different tournament games. And boy, is this stuff watered down. ESPN.
You cannot be serious.
All right, let's move to the men briefly here. I'm still shocked that Iowa knocked off Florida, Mitch. I have to watch the game again to really believe what happened here. But let's focus on our buddy Creepy Peepee Tom Todd Golden. How about this prick? He thinks he's the biggest bully on the block. He wants to fight Coach Cal. He's got his starters. Mitch, his starters were in up 48 against Prairie View A&M.
Oh, I'm aware.
He wanted to try to fight Ben McCollum in the first half of that game. Let me tell you something, McCollum would kick his backside if that fight ever took place. Well, let's fast forward to the final 9 seconds of the game. Florida's up 2, Iowa inbounding under their own basket, 72-70. What does Golden do? He goes into a full court press. Iowa breaks it with a pass to Bennett Sturts, their best player, breaking towards midcourt. He has 2 options to pass for a layup or a 3. They hit the 3 in the corner with 4 seconds left, and Florida takes a timeout, doesn't even get a shot off. And your defending national champ, and I know both of our future tickets on Florida, suddenly up in smoke. But wait, as Vanessa Williams says, let's save the best for last. How about the post-game presser? Let's listen to Todd Golden.
We had that 2-point lead late. We wanted to foul him, force him to make a couple free throws and then have a chance to have the ball with a chance to win the game in regulation. And then if we didn't go to overtime, we had a good feeling that they were going to try to end it and try to walk us off. And we just did not execute on the last play.
He wanted to foul up 2 so that Iowa could make 2 free throws, and then they would have a shot to have the last shot before sending the game to overtime. You won the national title last year. You're one of the elite rim-protecting defenses in the entire game of college basketball. And against this lowly Iowa team who's played terribly the last 2 months of the year and just happened to get a Clemson team who couldn't hit the broadside of a barn in the first round, you were so scared they were going to walk you off with the 3. Why not just sit back and play half-court defense? Why would you want to press? You're telling me you were going to press the foul? I don't believe he's that dumb, Mitch. I believe he's lying. I believe Todd Golden is lying to cover up the fact that he made a mistake in pressing Iowa. Todd Golden.
You cannot be serious.
And finally, bye, Felicia. Did you listen to the Syracuse coach?
I did.
Now, they were down 100 at half. I get that. Ozzie Fudd had more than doubled them up at half. They get beat by 40-some points. This is the Syracuse coach, Felicia Leggett-Jack. Let's listen to her post-game after getting eliminated by UConn.
For us to be what we've done in our body of work, to have to come and play the best team in the country. I mean, Gino has this thing going, and I love what he's done, but I thought deserved a little more respect after being in this business for 37 years, and to have to come and be in this particular bracket every freaking year is unacceptable.
All right, Mitch, she's been a college head coach since 2002. I had to go back and do the research because she has to play UConn every year. She's been a college head coach since 2002, so that's 26, so 25 years. Now they canceled one of the COVID. So she's had 24 opportunities to play in the NCAA tournament. She coached at Hofstra, Indiana, Buffalo, and Syracuse. How many times in those 24 years, I'll just let both of you can hazard this guess, do you think UConn and Gino Auriemma has eliminated Felicia Leggett-Jack from the NCAA tournament?
I'd say 2 or 3 times tops.
I'm going to go with 1 this year.
Exactly twice in 24 years.
Oh.
2024, she was a 6 seed. They won their first game, and then they met UConn, who was a 3, and UConn beat them in the second round. And then this year, she was a 9 and beat Iowa State, and she beat UConn. In 2010, in 2016, when she was at Buffalo, they got sent to play. She was a 13, and she got sent to Columbus, and they got beat by Ohio State. In 2018, she got sent to Tallahassee. They won 2 games, and they got knocked off in the Sweet 16 against South Carolina. And then she got sent to Tennessee and got knocked out in 2022. She's played them twice in 24 years. She said every year we have to come to UConn. Every single year. Well, if you don't want to play UConn in the first few rounds, go coach in the Big Sky. Go coach out. Don't they get it? They only have 2 regional sites because they can't draw anybody. They play all these first-round games on the top 4 seeds home. They can't draw anybody. They cannot draw anybody. So go play somewhere in the Midwest or out west. You won't have to play UConn until you get to a regional. Felicia Leggett-Jack.
You cannot be serious.
Twice, huh? The way you set it up, I knew it wasn't going to be like 8 or 10 times.
There's really 2 good honorable mentions this week, Mitch. And Carver Hawkeye not having air conditioning. I guess nobody knew about this until there was a heat wave in Iowa and the building was 92 degrees.
Oh, did you know about it?
Well, of course, they never put it in. They used the building from late October until early March. It's not warm enough in Iowa to have anything. Okay. But it was 88 degrees in a record heat wave. And then 2 days later, when they played the games, it was 40 degrees. And then the other story, I know I was too sensitive to do. But how about the quadruple amputee cornhole star who commits cold-blooded murder? And then he's mad that the 2 guys in the back seat won't help him roll the body out of the car because that was the tougher thing to do. That's straight out of a Columbo. That would have been a Columbo at some point.
Good list this week. All right, are you tired of cappers lying about their record? Juice Reel just dropped an update that makes that impossible. Connect your sports books directly into Juice Reel and instantly get in-depth analytics on your own betting, plus access to what the very best bettors on the platform have their money on. If you're the sharp bettor and others follow your bets, you'll get paid for helping the community win. The days of cappers faking their profits are over. Tail proven winners on Juice Reel. Download it now. That's juice like orange juice, Reel, R-E-E-L, Juice Reel. Derek Stevens told us yesterday on the show that handle was down for the first 4 days of the madness.
Horrible. Not in other states. In the outposts, as I call them, it was okay. But here in Nevada, it was down. And a combination, I think, of our bigger players not being here. Even the food and beverage revenue in Stadium Swim was up. But the book and then the ballroom here, Galaxy, and my ballroom, food and beverage revenue was down year over year as well. Now, is that a prediction market's influence? Is that the price of oil? I mean, it's $9 for a gallon of gas in some places in California, and flight tickets are ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what all of it was. I mean, a hotel rate here on Friday night was $7.99, Mitch. So that also freezes out some of the mid-tier gamblers when the price is that high as well. But it was down.
And this is the only state it was down in, though.
This was the only state it was down in. Let me tell you a little bit about our liabilities in case you were wondering. Did Derek Stevens cover these yesterday?
Briefly. None of the big boys, right?
You account for Arkansas being our biggest liability, okay. I think. Next after that is Michigan State, second, Purdue, third, St. John's, fourth, and then UConn, fifth, but quite a bit off. All the other ones are all $250,000 or up the first 4.
How's it feel to have the Twitter account back?
It's nice. It's nice. We can retweet stuff. People tweeting in about Palm Saturdays on the weekends. Good.
At Circa Maestro?
Circa Maestro.
There you go.
Who came up with that name?
More draft thanks, Mike. Yeah. More draft props are available for next month's event in the NFL. Mike loves betting the NFL draft, as do I. We'll talk about it coming up.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
It's good to have you on board here on a Wednesday. Mitch Moss along with Mike Somich in for Paulie Howard today. Paulie is out. He is at a pizza expo here in town, which honestly, it has to be worth taking a day off from doing the show, even though it's Sweet 16, honestly. They have some of the best pizza in the entire country there, some of the best pizza makers. You live in Santa Barbara, Mike. How is the pizza in that area?
Terrible. It's not great. There's one pizza place that I really like here. There's no really good New York style pizza, which is my favorite kind. And like, even if you want to lean to like the Chicago deep dish or the Detroit style pizza, not really anything. So it's just kind of meh, normal pizza. We need a couple really good pizza restaurants up here.
I will give a shout out to one place in Southern California here, because when I first moved out here, I didn't think the pizza in Las Vegas was very good either. But in the 25 years I've been here, a lot of pizza makers have come out here because they realize, like, hey, it's a booming place. I want to be there. Let's improve the pizza game. So now we have pretty good pizza across the board here in Las Vegas. And there's a spot, multiple locations. It's called Metro Pizza. Well, the guy who is in charge of Metro Pizza, his name is John Arena. And then he took somebody under his wing named Chris Decker. Chris Decker was speaking at the expo again yesterday. He does it every single year. They have since moved into Southern California. And just an unsolicited shout out here. Their place is called Truly Pizza. Truly, in Dana Point, California. I'll put it up against almost any place I've been in the entire country. It's that good. They think of everything. You have the Mitch Moss stamp of approval on this. And tell him I said hello, by the way, if you go there. You will not be disappointed if you go to Truly Pizza in Dana Point, California. The guy is a genius, and I think he finished top 50 at the International Pizza Maker Convention, like in Italy last year. He's that good. So I happen to know the guy. He was in Las Vegas for a long time, and now he's expanded to Southern California. But shout out for those of you in that region of the country. I know that we have a lot of pizza snobs in the audience, and they can only have, East Coast pizza. I'm telling you, that's a mistake, because good pizza exists in a lot of spots across the country. So there's a quick pizza rant, I guess, Mike.
I will have to check that out. We're doing a road trip, the wife and I are, up the California coast. So I'll have to see if we're hitting up Dana Point or not and check out Truly. I love a place called Joe's, which is in Santa Monica. Also, unsolicited plug. I used to live like a half block from there. Yeah. You could get the big New York style pie. It was phenomenal. I want a place like that somewhere up here in Santa Barbara. So if you're looking for a spot to open up a pizza joint and you can make good East Coast pizza, come to Santa Barbara. You got at least one customer.
And you're going to be a repeat customer for sure. There's nothing more disappointing when you get excited for having a pizza, and either you get it delivered or you go there for a night and you take one bite. You're like, oh my God, it's not good. Are you serious? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. You love betting the NFL draft. I love it as well. I think most people kind of do. So now DraftKings, they have posted more and more props. And one of them is the total number of quarterbacks selected in the first round, which has now moved with the juice. But I think there's a reason why. Now, this is getting some steam. Dan Orlovsky has said this now multiple times on ESPN, including, I think it was again either yesterday or today on Get Up. And that is now, oh boy, people are hot and heavy on Bama quarterback Ty Simpson.
I think Ty Simpson is QB1. I think Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in this class. I think when you look at the body of work and what was asked of these two quarterbacks, you have to start with the question, who needed to do more to carry their football team to play well? Ty Simpson, and it's not close between those two quarterbacks. Who took more games over throughout the course of the season? Ty Simpson. It's not even close. And if we're asking, okay, we're trying to see what you are as a player in college and what you're going to be asked to do in the NFL and what translates. I start with, what do you do in moments of panic with the football? Because that's really what separates good to great. I would tell you that Ty Simpson is more consistent in that regard. There's not a ton of moments of panic out of Fernando Mendoza, and then there's moments when he immediately drops his eyes and becomes a runner. Ty Simpson more consistent in that. What guy was asked to do more NFL throws? When I say NFL throws, I'm talking 15, 20, 25-yard in routes, crossing routes, deep corner or sail routes. Yeah. Ty Simpson, and it's not even close in that regard.
All right. So he's by far the best quarterback in the draft, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, do you see him on McAfee? Because he didn't. He had a little pushback on Pat McAfee. We'll just leave it at that. You can find that clip out there on X or where you ever want to get it. Look, I disagree with him. I'm not high on Ty Simpson here. I'm also not a scout. I'm not an evaluator. So I guess you have to decide whether or not you take what he is saying with a grain of salt. And if there's a bunch of GMs out there that are starting to buy into the idea that Ty Simpson is a high draft pick. But when we're looking at this from a specific betting market, it's will he go in the first round? Because we know Mendoza's going 1, and this number is set at 1.5. So the question is, will any other quarterback be drafted somewhere in the first round. Yes, Ty Simpson, the most likely to be the second quarterback, but you do have other quarterbacks that possibly someone could fall in love with during this process. I think it's going to be close. I mean, I think that the fact that the Rams traded away their pick late in the first round is not a great thing for Ty Simpson, not a great thing for taking the over 1.5 here, because that was a team late in the first round that would have made a ton of sense. You would kind of need someone to trade up, in my mind, up into the first round to go ahead and take him, because I don't think he's going top 20 in this draft, which means that it has to be someone in that 21 to 32 range. There's just not a lot of quarterback-needy teams that are drafting inside that range. I would lean toward he ends up in the first round, but I don't have a big-time conviction, and the price on the no is significantly higher than the price on the yes currently. You're looking at you're looking at minus 220 for yes. You're looking at minus or plus 170 for no. I'd rather bet the plus 170 than the minus 220 right now.
Yeah. What about the Jets? Not at number 2 overall, but they have another pick in the first round. And, I mean, my God, they're going to bring Geno Smith back. Now, maybe you just go through one more year of being a complete train wreck, and you say, sorry, season ticket holders, but next year's draft is so much better, and we just can't take a guy in the middle of the first round because we don't know about him. We have no idea if he's going to be good or not.
Yeah, I think the Jets would be one of those teams that, like, hey, we've got enough draft capital, we could take him. My issue here, I guess you have to trust, are the Jets going to do the smart thing? The smart thing is to wait for next year, to build up around him, to finish off that offensive line, to add pieces on the offense, and be ready to have your quarterback come in and not ruin them. Like the Jets have ruined quarterbacks time after time after time when they draft him, because they have nothing from a just structural standpoint. I also don't really want to go out and get a rookie quarterback when I have Aaron Glenn as my head coach. Like, let's see if he can fix the defense this year, and he deserves the opportunity to have a rookie quarterback that has upside before we go out and we spend a first-round draft pick on him. Because you got to think, hey, we've got draft picks that we got because we moved on from Sauce Gardner last year. I don't want to waste those on a quarterback if the team isn't ready around him. And I just don't think this team is ready this year. So I could see the argument as to why the Jets make sense as a landing spot. I think it would be a mistake from a franchise building perspective, though.
Right. I will point out, so yeah, that juice on the over 1.5 quarterbacks did move like 40 cents. And I think it was probably because of what Orlovsky was saying. Went from 220 to minus 260 in the first round. Now, when you're betting a draft market, right, like that, there's no difference between minus 220 and minus 260 if you know the information. Like if you found out that, like let's say you knew somebody inside the Jets organization and they said, absolutely, we love the guy, we're taking him 16th. Here, I'm a man of my word, we're taking him. Well, minus 260 might as well be 15 to 1. Because if you have the information, lay whatever number that is. It doesn't matter. This is not an event. This is not a basketball game being played tonight on the court where you have your opinion on the game. I have the information. I'm going to run with it. I'm going to make that bet. So that's one of the biggest differences between betting an event like the draft and betting like basically any other sporting event, Mike.
Oh, yeah, that's the beauty of this market. It is an information market.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
There is credible information that you can act on, and it's irrelevant what the price is if you are 100% certain that information is correct. I remember when Jacksonville had the number 1 overall pick, it was leaked before who they were going to take. San Francisco at 3, that leaked out about an hour before that draft when they took the quarterback from North Dakota, Trey Lance. That was like, it didn't matter what price you got. You knew what was happening. And that's one of the reasons that I do like, there's one of the couple reasons I really like the draft markets. First off, if you have someone you trust, if you have good information, you can profit straight off that. Secondly, these numbers bounce a lot. You get plus 170 right now on the no. You might get plus money on the yes 1.5 quarterbacks by the time we get to the draft. And all of a sudden, you got plus money on both sides. Yep. And it doesn't take a lot of money to move these markets because the limits aren't as high, and because they know it's an information market. If you get a big bet, that's going to scare the books.
Yep, you're spot on. Follow the Money is brought to you by ProfitX. If you're not on ProfitX yet, now is the time. Sign up by April 6th. Purchase at least $25 and get a free $25 as well. Then jump into their King of March contest. You could win free trips worth up to $5,000 or even $10,000 by using the code VSINMM. Make your first purchase, then learn about the contest on their homepage and start playing. No entry fee is required. Hit $1,000 in volume. You're entered for the $5,000 trip. Hit $10,000 in volume, and you're in for the $10,000 trip. Win 10 picks, hit the volume, and every additional 10 wins gets you another entry. Download ProfitX, use the code VSINMM, make your first purchase, and take your shot at becoming the king of March. To your point, I think if the Jets don't take him like at 16, and they don't have to take him. I like your angle. There's no Where's he going to go? Like, what's that landing spot?
Someone's got to trade up for him. It was the Rams. The Rams made so much sense with that second pick, and now they don't have it.
Yep. MLB starts tonight. We'll kick around that game and some season-long bets that we made here as well on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.